Y'all, it's Tony Playboy.
All right, all right. We are going to get into the recent roster cuts in the NFL. Training camp is winding down. The preseason only has, by the time you hear this, probably 2 more games left. And look, key dates. So the first date passed on Tuesday, August 17th, where teams had to get their total roster down to 85. On the 24th, it'll be down to 80. On the 31st, it'll be down to 53. So right now, there hasn't been a ton of roster cuts, but as things go on, it's going to get a lot more competitive. A lot better players are going to be cut that you're going to see making it in other places in the league. But the people that get cut early have a particular advantage because they can try to latch on somewhere a lot earlier in the process than others. So what I want to do is talk about some of the key roster cuts and give you my feel or take on what happened here. The first one is the most interesting one for people. Tim Tebow for the Jacksonville Jaguars. If you're a frequent listener, and you've heard me talk about this a couple of times, we all know Tim Tebow was never going to play tight end in the NFL. We all know he probably couldn't, and it was ridiculous for him to ever get that opportunity in the first place. I'm not knocking him for taking it, because if you get it, you should take it 100%. If you get it, you should take it. But it is kind of ironic overall. Tim Tebow's out. Urban Meyer has, done more debacles than not in his very short tenure. So I'm going to move down to the Eagles. The Eagles actually cut running back Kerryon Johnson. The Lions fans that listen will know this guy. He played for the Lions basically every year so far up until now. And I think this guy's going to get picked up somewhere, definitely. He's a great compliment back. Man has averaged 4.3 yards an attempt over his career in the league. He's a decent receiver, has good hands, and he has had some issues being healthy, especially earlier in his career, which I understand, especially with the depth that the Lions had at running back while they let him go. But he was healthy enough to play all 16 games last season. He's only 24. I strongly believe someone is going to take a flyer on him. And there's a couple other running backs on this list that I want to talk about. The second one is Lamar Miller, cut by the Washington football team. And this one was a little surprising to me because I had actually heard a lot of good things about him in camp this year. His last healthy season was in 2018. So that was 2 seasons ago. But in that season, he was a Pro Bowler, averaging 4.6 yards a carry, 70 yards a game. His good hands can catch. I honestly want to see him get one more chance, but the way that he's been kind of bouncing around these last couple of years and not really being healthy, I feel like he might kind of be on the way out. The last running back I want to talk about is Ito Smith. Ito Smith, former Falcon, almost identical to Kerryon Johnson in the he's only 25, averages about 4.3 yards a carry. He's never been a lead back, but has always been a good complement that can add depth to some squads, can fill some roles as a bruiser guy. Here's what I'm going to say. There's a couple of teams that are very light at running back now, even with these expanded rosters. And I think they're going to probably take a flyer on a guy here or there, especially these that got cut early, so they can kind of get them into the system a little bit early and compare them to the other guys they have on their roster. The teams that I want you to be on the lookout for picking up these running back talents are the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Bengals. Those are the 3 that I feel like we're definitely going to try to pick up a guy based off their current situation and the way people have been trending in their camps. Now, another guy I want to talk to y'all about is cornerback Prince Amukamara. Now, I'm shocked because the Saints needed more depth at corner and still cut him. And they still need more depth at corner, which means that he had to look pretty bad in camp to get cut this early. He was a 19th overall pick in 2011. He has never been truly consistent, but has been good in flashes here and there. He didn't play in 2020, so maybe it was some rust and he just didn't catch up in camp as fast as a lot of the other people. But it's going to be interesting to see what the Saints do here, because now they're banking on a 3rd round corner. I think his name is Tebow, and a slot corner in Brian Poole. So I'm interested to see what happens. We know Marshawn Lattimore has some legal issues. He might not start the season, might get suspended at some point during the season. I'm curious to see, but this is not trending well for Amukamara. The next person I want to talk about is Josh Rosen. And Josh Rosen gets cut by the 49ers. And is this Josh Rosen's last stop in the NFL? I don't think he's ever gotten a huge chance besides his time at the Dolphins, but it looks like he can't stay on a roster. And people aren't a fan of him, his attitude, his experience in the building. And I think when you're a guy that doesn't get a lot of minutes, doesn't start, isn't a large part of the team, the most important thing that keeps you on a roster is kind of like your people skills, what you bring to the team, what you bring in practice. And it seems like Josh Rosen isn't able to stay on these teams because that is a place that he significantly lacks in. Stay tuned in because as these other cut dates come around, I'm going to give you all more updates on these players that get cut, where I think they might actually end up being signed elsewhere, and the guys that I think just maybe will end up on a practice squad and not being able to play this year.